Knicks world, welcome to another episode of Delusional Knicks Fan Network, where we bring you the Knicks content that you need. On today's episode, we're talking about Coach Thibs, the gift and the curse, is how I see it. Few good things about Thibs. His gifts are his player development, his defense, attention to details, players loving him. But then we have the curse that outweighs a lot of stuff, as well as running down his players, his stubborn lineup, and pretty much him loving Julius so much that Obi Toppin doesn't get that much minutes. So let's jump into Coach Thibs. We all know Thibs been coaching, head coaching for about 10 years with a winning percentage of .572, which is phenomenal. He's going to win games, regular season games, that is. He's going to win games. His coaching with the Knicks has only been 2 years. He's going into his third year. Let's look at the numbers with Thibs. Believe out of 154 coach Knick games, Thibs has only won 78 out of 76. So we're pretty much 2 games over 500. So is that good or bad? I have no clue regarding that. But let's definitely jump in some gifts. Let's jump into the player development. So I did some research on Thibs. Apparently, Coach Thibs had worked with Kobe when he was 16 to 17 on his ball handling and footwork and overall just knowledge of the game. That's huge. That's huge. That's saying his play development is top notch, because Kobe is pretty much in the top 5 of greatest of all time. Definitely, in my book. He also worked with Yao Ming on his footwork. We all know Yao down in Houston. Yao could have been something ridiculous if it wasn't for injuries, but Yao was a center to be reckoned with, and Coach Thibs had some help in developing that. Then of course we all know Derrick Rose, who was a beast on his own, became the youngest MVP under Thibs' tutelage. And then we see Quentin Grimes hopefully take that leap. Obi Toppin has developed to a great player. Quickly has developed into a great player. Hopefully Mitch can develop into a great player under Thibs. Time will tell with that. Thibs' defense. Thibs' ice defense pretty much was the pinnacle of defensive schemes for the NBA from the 2000s and on, 2010s rather, and beyond. Him creating a shrink in the floor, his concepts, pretty much everybody in the NBA started using that. So that's huge if you impacted the game so much that all 30 teams are utilizing your defensive schemes. That's huge. That's Coach Thibs for us. His attention to detail. One player, Brian Scalabrine, stated that Thibs is the Bill Belichick of the NBA. I don't even know if that's good or bad. Bill Belichick's system is crazy because you can pick and plug players into a system and they still produce. With Thibs, I don't know if that could be seen, but yes, you give Thibs players, he will definitely squeeze, and I mean squeeze, wins out of those players. It's phenomenal. That's good. Then we jump over to some curses. Running down the players. Thibs, we all know Thibs would play his starters, players that he could depend on, for 38 to 42. I think Jules averaged about 43 for us his first year under Thibs. It's wild. Get that man some rest. That's why he's always burnt out. Which was an issue for me with Thibs, was similar to how we utilized Melo. Remember, Melo would literally play the entire first quarter. The entire first quarter. He would sit out some of the second quarter, finish out the rest into the half, and then probably play the rest of the game. But then by the time fourth quarter comes, Melo burnt. When you look at Melo's stats, Melo gave you all his buckets the first quarter. First quarter, Melo put up 12, 13, 14. And then what? Give you 10 buckets the rest of the game, 10 to 12? Nah, you got to space that out. You definitely need, I believe, Thibs need to manage his lineup a whole lot better. RJ playing lots of minutes. And mind you, RJ was durable. He missed a couple games here and there with the ankle and things of that nature. But you can't be up 10 with, 2 minutes left. Well, no, 10, it's possible. But we'll be up 15, 20, 10 minutes left. I mean, 2 or 3 minutes left. And you want to bring back in your starters. That's how people get hurt. Derrick Rose in the playoffs. We kind of utilized Derrick Rose because we didn't have anybody at the point guard position. Could have used quickly. But he was injured the following year because he was putting in work for us against that Atlanta series. So, right. And the stubborn lineup. Speaking of that series, we've had Elfrid Payton in our lineup that previous year. Now, I loved Elfrid Payton. Y'all gonna hate me because of the defense that he brings forth for us. He was a 6'4" point guard that was locking up guards for us, which is why, Randle had that phenomenal year because you had defenders around Randle, and Randle was just giving us buckets. That's why that team won 41 games, because we had straight defense with, subpar offense of 3-pointers from Reggie, and RJ was shooting pretty good on the three. Not pretty good, he was shooting okay. And Jules was shooting phenomenal. And you had Noel and you had Mitch to kind of clean up that paint. So that worked. But Elfrid Payton would only pass to selected players. He wasn't giving it to RJ. Was passing it to Jules way too much, and they would turnover prone, and he was shooting threes and didn't need to, and all of that. But I appreciate the Elfrid Payton thing because of the defensive aspect. But he ran that course too tough. There was times where it's like, yo, take him out, put in Rose, or take him out and put in Quick, or things of that nature. Thibs was not was not hearing that. Even now, we're hearing that Thibs is thinking about Evan Fournier as the potential starter for the shooting guard because we need shooters. Thibs, you didn't trade away Quentin Grimes because he was so high. Y'all was ready to get rid of RJ. Star J Barry was ready to get rid of so that you can play Quentin Grimes, but yet Fournier is the potential starter because you need shooter in that lineup. This is Thibs for you guys. This is what Thibs does. This is what Thibs. My other beef with Thibs is how he did not hold Julius accountable with a lot of things. Julius was tripping on a lot of situations. He was tripping on a lot of cases, and he let it slide. Him not getting back on defense. Him committing, crazy fouls. Him not, obviously getting back on defense is ridiculous. Him getting into fights with the fans, with the staff. I'm like, you supposed to nip that early. You saw Thibs in the clip, barking on players. I mean, it'll pop up eventually, but he was barking on players. We didn't see that from Jules. And it's like, why? You was doing that with Cat. You was doing that with Wiggins. Do that to everybody. Or you was doing that to Opie Quick. You was barking. I want to see that for Julius. Bark on Julius. Derrick Rose in the press conference was stating everybody needs to be held accountable. And Jules was just doing whatever he wanted to do. And I get it. You didn't want to screw up or how you screwed up in Minnesota. We're not trying to hear that, Thibs. We know who you are. You bark. Every game we watch the Knicks, you hearing Thibs barking. I want to hear that for Julius Randle. Going forth with that. The lineup situation is going to be an issue this year. And it's because we got too many players. I want Cam to start. Certain people want Grimes to start. it's all over. So it's definitely going to be an issue again. They stated that Thibs is not on the hot seat, which I don't expect. I love Thibs with the player development. I even made a statement on Nick and Bruises, stating that Thibs got the highest achievement as an assistant head coach, which was when he was with the Boston Celtics. He won the championship as an associate head coach. That's phenomenal. Doc goes on to say that his defensive scheme helped him win that. You have Garnett stating that Thibs was pivotal for that, but it was due to his defense. Now, for me, I love Thibs as the head coach. He can stay the head coach, but bring in an offensive guru that can draw up plays for us, that can set us up. Not to say that Thibs do not have an offensive system. Thibs ran, for me, great offensive systems down in Chicago. He did the same in Minnesota. Can't say they had better players, but they did have decent players that we have as well. Utilize it. Utilize your players to their strength. I get you have a particular way that you want to run it, but what we did with Kemba was horrible. Kemba was way better than what his knees was holding up, but he had 40-point games with us. He had triple doubles with us. You know, I'm wondering why we're not utilizing a lot more pick and roll with Kemba and Mitch, or Kemba and Opie, or double high pick and rolls. Run Iverson sets for Kemba. If you're in the league, you need to know. Get your play game up. Get your plays game up. But yeah. So I haven't seen that with that. Now, mind you, Thibs has run some great sets. Maybe we're not executing well, because yes, when you play in game, you can go off script. Certain players have that ability to do that. Probably see Jules do that all the time. But run the system. Systems play well. Get players in the system. And it's I don't know. It's just Thibs. It's a love-hate relationship with Thibs. Truly a love-hate. And I was a huge advocate for him coming in the beginning when we was going on our coaching hunt. And I'm like, yo, Thibs at the top. Why? Because Thibs is going to bring that tough nose. We're going to play defense. He's going to make sure guys play. But then I was a little skeptical with him because of how he's going to run the team down, how players are going to get injured, things of that nature. But I figured he could have learned from him being away from the game. He could have learned. As you can see, I have Thibs stats out. I always got to bring the stats just to show you my perspective with Thibs. I think it's like the Mark Jackson situation. Mark Jackson came in, developed the culture, developed the team, taught these players how to be players. But he couldn't get over the hump in the playoffs. To my knowledge, Thibs have never been past the conference finals in any of the 3 teams he's been with. Right? Look, that should tell you it all. This is the Mark Jackson situation. Let him come in. Let him one more year, maybe. One more year. Let him come in one more year, this year. If we can't produce, you got to bring in a coach that has a system that will have the players, like what happened with Mark Jackson and then Steve Kerr. So we could develop the players. The players, to me, I believe is there. Quickly, Opie. We have a number of players on this team. So we cannot sit there and settle for anything less than the playoffs. I'm sorry. This is the delusional aspect coming out. I'm sorry. We got a team. Full through. If Julius don't got it one night, put in Opie. I don't want to hear, oh, nah, Julius is getting paid this. He needs to play 38 minutes. No. If Julius got a bad night, I don't want to hear there's other ways of winning games with grabbing rebounds and assists. This man is not getting buckets and his percentage is low. Put Opie in the game. But we know Thibs won't do that because that's the stubbornness. How many times Quickly came in and was killing, you're going to sit Quickly in. Or the kids, period, come in. We get a league. You bring the starters in, and then we, the league, disintegrate. We lose it. Come on, Thibs. Gotta do better. Gotta do better. Which I don't know if he can do better. But let me know what you think of Coach Thibs. Should we give Thibs another year? Should we let him finish out his 5-year contract? What should we do with Coach Thibs? And who could be in a replacement for Thibs? That's to me is the biggest one. What coach out there? Even though we got too many female staffers on our staff, so I don't know if we can go through that. We don't need another crisis with like we had with Isaiah Thomas. So on that note, deuces.
See the ops staying plain clothes. I see the ops y'all in plain clothes. I fell in love with a waist low. I fell in love with a waist low. Fell in love with going up, it's coming down. It's for clowns, so whenever I show up, it's going down like we drown. Competition try to shake me cause I'm down with the hounds. Competition wanna pay me cause I'm down with the pound.